This one. Oh shit. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back again to today's episode of helping helping the initiative of ending violence against women. Today, we have with us Gila Yefet. Gila's contribution spread to many different fields. Welcome, Gila. As a
Thank you for
pillar,
having me.
thank you for being with us. As a pillar of the community, she passionately dedicated her life to helping those in need. As a certified mediator, she assists and guides parties towards reaching acceptable solutions. As a legal support worker and a founder of Women of Courage and Strength, a support group for abused women, she guides, empowers, and assists in navigating through the Ontario legal system. That's so important.
Yeah.
As a motivational speaker, mentor, and certified master coach practitioner, she believes in courage and strength that, uh, that are our choices. And yes, we can. She is an artist and is currently writing her first book. For the past 10 years, she has been a host of her own TV show on the Israeli channel in Canada, bringing public awareness to social issues. She is currently completing a double major BA in human rights and equality studies and law and society. Wow. We are so fortunate to have you here. You're such a powerhouse and
Thank you.
such a pillar of support for women.
I'm humble. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And I remember hearing you speak at the IWB event for the first time at City Hall. And, I didn't want to blink my eyes and I wanted to absorb all the information that you had to offer us. And I was thinking, where were you when I was going through my divorce? I didn't even know what is a legal support worker. However, my lawyer was very good. She's a wonderful uh, person to have on your team when you're going through a divorce. But
Yes.
before I ended up with her, I didn't know where to go. I
Yeah.
didn't know what I want. Like that kind of clarity to have someone to support you with that was so much needed. So even though I met you later, I had my divorce earlier. Every time I meet a woman who is is struggling with a divorce situation and is struggling with it, my go-to person is you. I always
I
recommend
know
you.
you do. I know you do. You. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And just to clarify, a legal support worker is not instead of a lawyer. It's the opposite. It helps. You know, uh, you need a good lawyer. But sometimes, women when they go through this situation, they don't necessarily know what's the proper lawyer for her case, because different lawyer, practice, different, areas of the law, and even in family, in variation. So it's important to have a lawyer that understand your particular situation. So I help in that as well, and sort of guide them towards the lawyer that will help them in their case. And
Right.
yeah, so I just wanted to clarify that it's I'm for lawyers. I'm like, I think they
I
do a
know.
phenomenal job.
Absolutely. Um, based on your experiences, and you're doing phenomenal work yourself, you already have a program, a support group for abused women. I have a few questions for you. I
Okay.
know that what you will share with us will be great information for a lot of women, especially during COVID times when there's a surge in the number of cases in domestic violence. There may be women listening, or there are friends and family members who are listening to this conversation that we are having, and they could share it with the women who need to know this. So. How can abused women support and empower themselves? How can they do that?
So that's a really hard question, because I believe when a woman finds herself in that situation, it's very hard for her to help herself, because if she
Right.
could have helped herself, she wouldn't be in that situation. So it's not from not wanting to be out of that situation. Sometimes there's so many other reasons why they cannot. They have small children. Financially, they're not, able to take care of themselves and the children. A lot of the time they're afraid. They love their husband, even though he abuses them. They love him. He says he's sorry all the time, and they believe him. So, I've heard people say that, if they really were so unhappy, they could have left. No, it's not true. They need the help to get out. They cannot do it themselves. It's very, unfair to judge a woman when she's in that situation and thinking that she can do it herself. No, she can't. That's why she has all of us here to support her. So that's my answer. Very difficult for a woman to help herself.
I
However,
understand.
however, when she does, with all the help that she can get, when she decides to leave that situation, that's when we can start helping her, and that's when the healing starts.
Right. So it has to be, first of all, it has to be her decision, her choice.
100%.
And it takes time for her to make that decision and choice. It's not an easy one.
No, it's not. I'll give you a an actual situation. There was a
Right.
woman that was, and I mean, we also know there's different kind of abuse. It's not
Right.
all physical. People think when they say an abused woman, they think it's only physical. It's not. It could be physical, emotional, verbal, financially is one of the biggest one now. It's like financial abuse. There's a whole, you know, list of abuse. And when a woman is in that situation, even if she is physically abused, sometimes she can take it. But I've seen a woman, when it came to her children, when the
Right.
husband turned on her children, that's when she said, "That's it."
No. Right.
She walked out.
You
So she took it for herself, but as soon as it turned on her kids, she had that protection, gear in, and she just said, "Enough is enough."
and then you
So
see that same woman showing up in her strength, right?
yes, exactly.
That that's very true. That brings me to this question. A lot of people, and personally I've been through it myself. A lot of people who see a woman going through abuse, they have this belief that she's weak. She's weak. Maybe she's not that educated, and that's why I've had people question me. You were an educated girl, so what happened? Like, what could you not see? Why would you put yourself through that? You
So
know,
I can tell you it is a myth, a real myth. Abuse has no borders. It hits everybody. From all walks of life. You know, whether a woman can be educated, and a lot of the time they're beautiful women. They are beautiful women. Educated, smart. Full of life, and a lot of many time they're not poor. People have this myth that if you're an abused woman, either you're poor, uneducated, and that's why you were in that situation, and it's so untrue. I mean, some of the girls that I've seen come through my services are so, I mean, I can tell you they're lawyers, accountants, doctors, and all walks of life, all religion, all culture. It happens everywhere, everywhere. Some culture just hide it a little bit better than others. That's it. But it
right?
exists. It exists wherever. It exists everywhere. I can't stress it enough how much it exists everywhere. So it's a myth.
Right. I completely agree because, when people used to ask me that why you're an educated girl, why did you put up with all this for so long? I don't know how to explain.
Yeah, you can't.
I
Because
can't explain. Okay. Some people see that as weakness, but think about it. That woman who took all the abuse, for all those many years when it was inflicted on her, but she, in 1 second, she turned around and stood up for her children. It shows that she's
Yeah.
capable of strength, showing
So
strength.
this is what I do when they come to me. It doesn't matter in what capacity, whether it's a coach, a mediator, or a legal
Right,
support work. What I help them, because I help them find their own inner strength.
right,
If they have their strength, they just sometimes forgot they have it, and I just
right,
help them find it and stand up on their own 2 feet. They can do
right,
it. They're all, I'm like so proud of them. It's like they're all my kids. Doesn't matter how old they are. I'm
right.
like so proud of them when I see it. And a lot of people ask me, why do I do it? Like, I have a wonderful husband and I have three wonderful sons. So I grew up in a home and I had a wonderful father, I must say. But
Mm,
so I've been around men, like I have a house with four men,
right,
but they're such awesome men and they treat me, I always say they treat me like a queen. And I think every woman should be treated like that. And that's why I do it. Every
wow,
woman should be treated like that. Yes,
wow,
every woman deserves. Can you imagine a woman being abused every day by the partner that promised to love her?
right,
Okay?
right,
So, I mean, feel her pain. This is the woman that, you know, got married, full of hope, or not married, or just a partner, doesn't matter, as long as it's a partner that promised to love her. And then that partner turns on her. you
right,
know so I mean, feel her pain. There's so many emotion. This is supposed to be someone to love her. How can he or she do that to her
right,
or him? Usually, I mean, the
right,
percentages are usually done. Women are the victims. So
right,
it's feel her pain. It,
right.
that's why I do it anyway. I get
Wow,
very
that's
emotional.
right. That's a very wonderful thing you shared. Usually, women who, uh, oh, there is no sound, they are saying.
Oh,
Why is that?
I don't know, they haven't heard me.
Aziza says there's no sound. You can't hear? We've been
I,
talking.
I can hear.
I can hear too.
Yeah.
Yes, she said, nice to see you. Okay, now she can hear it. Okay, awesome.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, thank you. I hope everybody heard what we were speaking. There was so much gold in that.
I think
Okay,
they,
thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, Aziza. Hi, Emilio. Blessings to you too. Great to see you coming online and listening to our conversation. I'm happy that that there is a man in the house listening to this
Yep,
conversation. And please encourage and invite other men to listen to this
absolutely.
conversation. You are our allies. Emilio is a very wonderful man. He loves his wife dearly, and we want more men around us. More men like Emilio. Shout out to him.
We can't solve the problem of abuse without men, without the
Right.
support of good men. Of
Right,
course. I wouldn't
right.
be able to do what I'm doing without the support of my good men. I couldn't. They support me in
Absolutely.
everything that I do.
Absolutely. And it must be so lovely and so beautiful that you want to, you have the generosity, and when you hear other women suffering and crying, your heart must be breaking, and you must be like, I wish I could replicate this in every home, that the men in the homes love their women, whether
Oh,
it's mom,
I'm
daughter,
sure.
wife.
You know what? I'm sure they love their women, and I think a lot of the problem is if you go back, it's kids go back to childhood. Kids learn by
Right.
example. So what we need to do is break the cycle, because a lot of those
Absolutely.
times the men themselves are victims,
Right.
and we got to stop the cycle, and that's why
Right.
I always tell my women, you want to stop the cycle, so your kids give your kids a different
Right.
example. Be a
Right.
strong woman. Give your kids. You don't want your daughter to continue in your
Right.
footsteps. You want to change that. So find
Right.
your inner strength and stand up for yourself. And they
Right.
do. A lot of them
Right.
do.
Well, women who take abuse, I actually don't see them as weak because based on my own personal experience, I
Mhm.
know that I can stand up for myself. I knew that. But it takes something to take a punch. I'm not saying literally, but metaphorically. It takes a great amount of strength to
Mhm.
take a punch and not hit back,
Okay. Turn
right?
the other cheek. Are you saying turn the other cheek? Okay.
I will not turn the other cheek.
Okay.
But okay, you gave me a punch. I will address that, but I won't punch you back.
Okay. There's other
It's
ways. There's other ways. That's right. You don't have to lower yourself to their standards. I agree.
so women who are abused and who are being beaten, it's not
Mhm.
that they're not strong, but it takes
Yeah.
a lot of courage to
Yeah.
love a man who is beating you and you don't treat him the same way.
Yeah.
And you're still coming from a place of love and forgiveness and giving him another chance and another chance and another chance. That is not a weak person. So, or any woman who is going through abuse, I really want you to get that you are not weak and you are
No, really.
capable of showing
Absolutely.
that strength for yourself. You're showing it for the person who is abusing you. Show it for yourself.
But I also want to say that for all those that are listening, once the abuse starts,
Yes,
if he hits you once, he'll hit you again. So no matter how much he says he's sorry, you got to think about it. He'll do it again. So you have to decide when enough is enough. And
right,
you have to decide whether you're worth, what are you worth? Is that okay for somebody to hit you? If we're talking about, physical abuse. But I want to tell you something. I had a woman a number of years ago. She's still with me. They don't leave. They stay with me forever. And I remember somebody referred it to me, and we were sitting. She was telling me a story, and I said, God, you're in an abusive situation." She says, "I'm not. There's no way I'm abused." I said, okay. And then, I went with her and I started working with her. She was in denial that she was not in abusive situation. She wasn't physically abused, but very, very hard for her to understand what kind of abuse she was going through. So one day I went with her to the bank. This is some of the things that I do. I go with
right,
her to the bank because I tell them what they need to do is, put a stop for him able to take any money out and so forth. So we're sitting in the bank and the bank, manager was with us and she started to tell her and show her that he was actually removing money from their account to his personal account. But
wow,
because his account was personal under his name, they couldn't give her any information. It was his. Basically, he depleted her accounts to his account. And as she was sitting there, she started to cry. And that's when she realized the abuse. And
mm,
that's when we started the healing process because until she understood that he was actually abusing her, not just financially, in many other ways, that's when she realized. And that's when, I mean, she's in a great place today. But I'm just saying, so there's so many different kind of abuse that sometimes it's hard for them. But I really want to tell all of those that are listening, you're not alone. Sometimes they think, a lot of the time the people I see, they come here as immigrant, if educated or not educated, they come here by themselves. They not necessarily have support from some communities. Don't give them support. They're isolated. They find themselves not knowing who to trust, where to go. And I just want
right.
to I want to tell them they're not alone. There's so much support for them. There's so many organizations and people that will support them. That's one of the key issues, to let them know they're not alone. Somebody's always there for them. Just pick up the phone and call for help. We'll help you.
Thank you. So, having said that, I know that you're a legal support worker. I knew who a mediator is, but I had never heard of a legal support worker, an LSW, until I met you. Please tell us something about who is a legal support worker, how they can help women who are going through an abusive relationship.
So there's not too many of us around.
Mm,
um,
mm, mm.
so a legal support worker basically helps a woman navigate through the legal system. That's basically it. And well, it's a little bit, sometimes it's a lot more than that. But a woman, when she starts, first of all, even if she has a lawyer, she's still, I've sometimes a woman come to me when they've gone through three, four lawyers because they're not happy with the lawyers that they had. It's not that the lawyer was not good. It just maybe it was the improper lawyer for their case. So I help them find a good lawyer for their case. I go with them to lawyers meeting, make sure they understand what the lawyer says, what they cannot do, not do. Now, remember, they have, they see a lawyer, I don't know, once a month or whenever they need to communicate. What happened to the rest of the time when they need answer? They don't realize every time they call a lawyer, it's money. And it's a
Right,
lot and it's a lot of money. And sometimes it's question that happens, you know, what shall I do with the kids? The father didn't come to pick up the kids. It's so many. I mean, I can't find the question right. There's so many that they need answers immediately. And what happens if the lawyer is busy? He has many clients. He cannot give you an answer that I help them alleviate the anxiety sometimes of what they're looking for. Um, I go with them to actual courts. I accompany them to court and sometimes also to religious court. Some religion you need to get two divorce. You get civil divorce and you need, a religious, and that's an experience on its own that no woman should go by herself. So I
right,
accompany them. Um, I do supervised visits. I or supervised exchanges. There's not too many people that do that. So I'll give you an example so people understand what I'm talking about. So there's an abused woman that has to exchange the children and has to give them to her husband, and they do it. Let's say I had a woman that they do it in the mall. So there's security in the mall, and because she was terrified, and they do the exchange. Now she's so terrified to even see him that she needs somebody there with her when she gives him the children because she was so abused. So we do that. So not just myself, because I have a lot of people that help, a lot of volunteers that do that.
volunteers.
We do supervised, the supervised exchanges. I do also supervise access. So when the centers are closed, let's say somebody he has supervised access. Somebody has to be there with the children, but he doesn't have to go to a center. So I do that as well. Ensure the kids are okay. We write everything down and so forth. Um, I help them go to different organizations, different facilities. Ensure they go to social work. I send them to social work, so they go to see a social worker. They go to, sometimes they need things like filling out, Ontario work application. Sometimes they need, children's benefits. There's so many aspects to it that they don't know. And some women want to represent themselves and I help them with the legal papers. So it's like there's like I can't even tell you how many things we do to help. So just happened last week. One of my girls needed to change the locks on the house. 7 o'clock at night. She's terrified. So we help her. I have all those guys that came in, they helped her, we changed the lock. So it's whatever it is to alleviate where, you know, even the social worker, she sees her an hour a week. What happens with the rest of the 24 hours, 7 days a week? Where does she go? She
Right.
comes to us. It's so much more complicated. I'm just giving you a little bit
Yes.
of what we do.
It's interesting because as you're speaking, I'm kind of remembering my days. And, as I keep saying that I wish I had known you and I had that support. For example, when I used to go, so I didn't have my own money at that time to go to a lawyer. So I was on a legal
Yeah,
aid
yeah,
certificate at that time. And, uh, you know, and there's only a certain number of hours that I have in which I have to round up everything.
yeah,
So I'm going through that break, the emotional trauma of divorce and breaking
Yeah.
up, and I'm doing it all by myself, and I have cancer. So when I used to go to a lawyer, and especially because she was a woman, and I would be rambling like, oh, he did this, he did that, he did this, and I spent like so much time doing that. And she would keep telling me, come back to the case.
So I
I'm
can
not
tell you, sorry to interrupt you, but what I do is I tell them, write everything down,
right.
point by point. I make it easier for the lawyer. I said the lawyer doesn't have time. I take their emotion out of their writing. Because
Right.
there's no, like, we have to take the emotion out. So and I tell them a lot of the time that I cannot tell you now on live TV, is that I tell them the do's and don'ts, what they should do,
Right.
what they shouldn't do. But it's things that I'm not going to discuss now. But I tell them to get a list, make you know propose, make specific of the things that happen, make it easier for the lawyer to understand your story. Don't waste his time or her time. Make it right, because you are right. Legal certificate, sometimes you have so many hours that you have to do, that the lawyer has to do number of things for you. Don't waste them. So this is
Right.
another thing that I do.
Yes, and my lawyer was, usually they are kind and compassionate. She was
Yeah,
very kind. However, she needs to do her work. And
exactly.
a lot of the time, I didn't know what I wanted.
Yeah,
To have someone to sit and have a conversation with,
yeah,
and to organize your mind about what is it that you want as an outcome of this divorce.
yeah,
We're making an agreement for the rest of our lives, most probably, with
absolutely.
the kids involved and everything. There has to be foresight, there
Yeah,
has to be experience. So someone
yeah,
who's not been through a divorce situation, has no experience of what to do when they're going through it for the first time. What is it that you want? And like that foresight, and to know what would be the repercussions of asking this, and how it could be interpreted along
yeah.
the way, and those kinds of things. So I feel that would be great support from a legal support worker.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot more. It's a lot more in depth than that, but yeah, more or less.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you've already shared with us a little bit about some of the things you
Mhm.
do, but specifically, you run a program for abused women, and also, I think you have a show uh, on TV. Tell us a little bit about that. Is that to do with similar like social issues and
The TV,
things like that?
well, you know what? I have a platform that I can use for whatever is needed. So whatever I think a community needed, not just our community, any community, whatever I think the need is, I air it. So I have a pretty free hand to get any guests on my show that I think are of value to
Right.
Canadians. So it can be, not just abuse, it can be any social issue. Because,
Right.
I'm in human rights. Any social issue is important, is important.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, so again, based on the programs that you learned, share some of your learnings and experiences with us on, the women who come to you for help. What have you observed from handling all these cases?
So I can tell you is that they're beautiful women that just need help for a certain time in their life until they find the path. I always say it's a choice. It's a choice that they need to make to go on the path that's right for them.
Right.
Um, I have so many walks of life that it's like they're so different, and they're all ages. I mean, all ages. I have a woman who is 70 years old, and took the abuse for so long, 70, and it's
Wow.
70, and I think her kids sort of pushed her to say enough is enough, and
Right.
70 she said enough. And I was like, I'm so proud of her. I said, yes, Now that you said enough, now we can, now we can start, working on, whatever life can give you. Enjoy life. So I mean, they're so different. It's really hard for me to pinpoint because they come from all walks of life, all culture. I cannot. I'm doing a research actually on that subject. I'm actually doing a research right now for one of my studies, about the double edged. I call it the double edged sword of abused women and the legal system, because this is really what my passion is, because I see it again and again and again, how, once a woman leaves the abuse, and it takes so much courage for a woman to leave the abuse. Okay, I call them my heroes because they are heroes, to leave an abuse and leave everything behind. And a lot of the time they leave everything, money, I mean, they, everything
Everything.
behind. The only thing they do is take their kids, that they're passionate about taking their kids. And a lot of the time the abuse continue through the kids.
Right.
And the law, not meaning to, I'm not, bashing the law, but I'm saying whatever the law that is in place right now abuses them again and again and again. So it's not enough that
Right.
they, left the abusive, house or partner. Now they have to deal with it. Sometimes it's heartbreaking. I mean, it is heartbreaking to watch what they're going through again in the legal system. And, if they come to me early, we can do so much more, because we can direct them to the court lawyer. Because once they start in the legal system and there's court orders in place,
In place.
very hard to change. You can, I mean, I've seen them change, but it's very hard to change, and they get conned, into it, and the abuser doesn't stop the control. Sometimes
Right.
he uses the court system. He uses the family court system to
Big
continue
time.
to abuse. I've seen it, but I've seen phenomenal judges, who said, enough. You cannot put any more emotions in my courtroom. Because that's what they do. They're smart. A lot of those men too, the abusers. They're, as well educated, smart. They're not all, uneducated bullies. And this is what they
Yes.
do. They use it. And I've seen women break down. I'll give you one. I had a woman who was educated. She was making a lot of money. Okay, I don't know what a lot of money. And for everybody, a lot of money is different. But I
Yes.
can tell you, she was making about $200,000 a year, which for a lot of us, it's a lot of money. She got a lawyer who started. She came to me crying, and I'm like, "What are you crying?" Like, I didn't understand. She was crying to me that for within 3 months, 3 months. I mean, don't forget the $200,000 that she was making was gross. So she was telling me that in 3 months she was broke between the
Wow.
lawyers. That she had no money. So it didn't matter how much money she was making. It was taking so much, from her. And I mean, my heart broke. Doesn't matter how much, she had no money. She became
Right.
poor, and she couldn't get legal aid because she was supposed to be making so much money.
Right.
So there's all kind of situation like this with different issues in the legal system,
Right.
and and I see it again and again, and I don't know what we're going to do to stop it, but I have to tell you that there's a new law coming to effect in Canada in March of 2021, where
Yes.
the judges are going to look and take into consideration control and coercion within the family abuse cases. So I'm like applauding them. That's
Very
wonderful.
good.
Wonderful, wonderful, because that's what they use. They use the kids,
Yes.
they use the child support. I mean, I've seen men,
Oh
say,
God.
you know,
Yes.
oh my God, I've seen it over and lies, and anyway,
Yes.
I can go on
Yes.
and on what I see in
So
the court.
I will give you my current situation, my
Yeah,
example of my current situation. So my divorce is done, but to this day, my heart palpitates because if he want, okay, there is a some instructions put in the agreement that that he can see the kids. There's he has access to the kids, but if he wants to see the kids, he has to give me a specific date and a time. But
Yeah.
he wants to just walk in. He doesn't want to give me a specific date and a time. He wants to walk in, or he wants to say things, even now say things that are now kind of inappropriate for me to hear, because I'm not his wife anymore. But I'm so scared, because every time I oppose, it impacts the child support in a way that he will drag it, because there's between the first and the 10th he's supposed to give the child support. Then the time we disagree on something, he'll be like, oh, I didn't get my money, here 500, here 200.
So
And he
that's his control.
yes,
That's his
he
control. He
does that.
still has the control. He's still holding to the control. I just
Yes.
want to ask you, if I can, over, you don't have, how old are the kids? How old are the kids?
13, 13.
So 13, 13 can, already, you know, okay, we'll talk about it after.
Yes,
I'll tell you
yes,
what, I will
right.
help you. Don't worry. But
Thank you.
he cannot do what he
Thank you.
wants.
And it is ridiculous, because on the other hand, he says he has no money because of COVID and all that. But I'm not ranting here, but I'm just giving an example that a lot of people can relate
Yes.
to. But on
Yes.
the other hand, the same person is sending tons of money, in hundreds of thousands, to my extended family in India, and buying their loyalty, and saying this is donation, go give it out. And
Yeah.
I'm getting that feedback from my family, and I'm like, what? He has money to donate there, but he is saying he doesn't have money
Yeah. But
for his own children.
that's the control. But he has the money for the children, but he needs to control you, because
Yes,
he wants what he wants to do, and he
right,
wants you to say yes, you can do whatever you want. But that's
right,
the control issue. That's his
right.
issue, not yours.
Yes.
So
So that's
I will help you. Yeah, there's a
right.
lot of it. There's a lot of it.
Thank you. So yes, and thank you. That's great help. Now, for the women who are stuck, and for the women who are living behind closed doors, any tips, any advice that you would like to offer?
Yes, let them. First of all, you're not alone. You're absolutely not alone. Pick up the phone and call. There's so much help. Like, I've helped so many women get out of the situation. They don't all come back. They don't all come to me after they left. Some of them come to me to arrange safety exit from where they
Right,
are. So I
right,
help them to get the safety exit. And there's a lot of things involved that I cannot tell you over the air. But call, call me. Let's see, how we can help you. But it's the most important thing is to know you are not alone, because a
right,
lot of them think that they are alone and they're the only one that are going through this situation. No, you're not. You're not
right,
alone. There's so
right,
many. There's so many strong, brave women that will help you. And I'll tell
right,
you just what I do, just so they know. Um, a lot of the women that I help, there comes a time where they're great. They stand on their feet, but they still feel that they need support. So what I do is I connect with their permission. I connect some of the women, like if they have kids the same age, if they have similar background, whatever. I connect them to, like I introduce them together, and then they form their own family, and they
right,
help each other, they babysit each other, because a lot of time women, they're not free, they don't even have a babysitter that they trust, they don't even, you know what I'm saying? So they support each other. So this is something that I do, because there's so much that I can do for like, how do I explain it? Like, there's so much my house can hold for dinner, you know what I mean? So I
right,
have, I make sure that they're not alone, and I introduce, them, and they're like stay forever friends. I also use like different, like if it's whether it's a church or a synagogue or a mosque, I use those leaders to help me. So they sort of hug the girls, and invite them and make them part of the community as well. So I work with those leaders as well. I work with
right.
the social worker. I work with protection worker. So I do all that. So it's not that I'm just in the background. I'm actually in the front helping them do all that. So you're
Right.
not
And
alone. Pick up the phone and
also,
call.
right. Also, at a time when we are like when someone's in relationship and wanting to break free and taking that step, the
Right.
fear is also that, what is allowed legally and
Well,
what would be held. Like, for example, taking your kids and leaving could amount to kidnapping. So, what is the right thing to do? And what is
that's what,
something
I can tell you, Siri, I just had a case
right?
today about that. And I want to tell whoever is listening that it's depending where you take the children. If you're taking the children out of the home and going to a shelter or going to somebody else's home within, let's say, Ontario or Canada, you're okay. But if you take them out of the country, you can be charged with kidnapping because
Okay,
we have the Hague Convention, which
right.
is it's a very serious offense. So please, before you do that, I have somebody that just did it. So we're
Oh
just
no. Hmm.
okay. It's a very serious offense. You got to be very careful because there's agreement between Canada and the U.S., Canada and many other countries. Not all, not all.
Right,
For instance, Canada and Russia does not have the Hague Convention. So there's a whole different. It's a legality and a lot of legal issues. So before you do that, pick up the phone and ask, and we'll tell you, yes, you can do it, or no, don't you do it. And if I'm not sure, like for instance, in this case, because I'm not an immigration lawyer, I
right,
sent her to the one of the top notch immigration lawyer, who happened to be a good friend of mine. I said, give him a call right now. He will give you the advice that you need, and then we'll continue. So there's
right.
a whole bunch of issues. Yeah.
So that's where you are very resourceful. You
Yes.
connect. You make sure that you are, the person who is leaving an abusive relationship. Everything is covered. Every angle,
Exactly.
every aspect is covered.
Absolutely.
So that she can be safe and supported. And right. So that is
Absolutely.
phenomenal. And where can we find you? Do you have a website?
No, no, because you see, this is I'm so good. I'm so good in so many things, but when it comes to when
Right.
you know
Okay,
when it
we
comes,
have you on Facebook. We have you
yeah,
on
of
Facebook,
course,
and
no,
I'm
no, of
going.
course. Actually, one of my
Mm,
son is working on a website now that
right,
they have a
right,
vacation from university. They're going to help me out. Yeah. So I'm like, I told my son one day, because I needed help, and his university doesn't have time for me. I said, please, I said, your mother is so retarded when it comes to, social, media issue, internet. And he said, no, my mother's a very smart woman, but when it comes to the internet, she is an idiot.
she's busy doing her work. She's busy
So
doing her
that's my
work.
so that's my
Yes,
answer. Yeah, yeah. I
yes,
just, you know what? I don't even need it because people find me. They just find me. Like it's like, they just know who I am. But you're absolutely right. Many people that need help, they may not know me, may not know me, and I'm glad you said. And I know we're working on it. It's important.
right,
I,
right.
I,
I know that you're on LinkedIn, and I'll tag you on this
yes,
video, so anybody who wants to reach
yes,
out to you can
I
have
appreciate
access
it.
to you. Anybody who's going through abuse, she is
Yeah.
your one-stop shop.
I'll do my best, and if I can't, I will direct you to the place where they can help you.
Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is great information, and I really appreciate your time that you came out to share all this information with the people viewing it.
Thank
This
you.
I'm very sure that someone or the other will need to hear all that you had to offer. I am so grateful for all that you do for the women. I'm so grateful for your support, and we need more legal support workers. Are you? I mean, seeing you, I feel that more people should be encouraged to take on this designation, so that there can be more of people like you to support and help women around. Where can we take this course?
Well, I'll tell you after because it's I
Okay.
don't know if they're doing it yet, but it's
Okay.
not it's not just a course. You cannot just take a course and be a legal support worker.
I
You
see.
have to be a lot more than just,
I
because
see.
because you're dealing with people's life. You're dealing with you're taking a vulnerable woman that needs is not enough for you
Enough.
to sit there and help and
Mm,
guide her. Because sometimes the wrong guidance can get her in more trouble than she is already. So you know what I
right.
mean. More than just it's just that you need to have a lot more than just one course.
Okay. So that's more information for anybody else who wants to be a legal support worker. So I think, having said that, I've touched all the dots.
Yes,
Yes,
thank you.
and so please share this video. Please listen to
I
this
will.
conversation. This is very, very, very important, and please share it with anybody who's dealing with, a crisis or a situation at home where they're being abused, so that they know that there is help. There is help. There's absolute help available. And your first help doesn't have to be the lawyer. You can take it step by step, and there is someone to hold your hand and walk you through the process, and
Awesome.
someone to tell you things that you cannot even think of at that moment in time. So you
Exactly.
need that support of, help that is legal, help that is, rational and practical for you. So with that, we come to the end of today's session. Thank
Thank you,
you
Sherry.
so much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And
Uh,
everybody who was listening, have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you, and bye bye.
Thank you.